Hey everybody, welcome to the People Process Progress Podcast. I'm Kevin Pinnell. I'm here with Adam today. We're at Blue Gorilla BJJ and we'll get into all that kind of stuff. This is the first in the series of the People Process Progress of the New River Valley. We're in Radford, Virginia. So the New River Valley is in Southwest Virginia, has a bunch of areas. We'll talk to folks from there. So today we're going to talk about, among other things, I'm sure, policing, jiu-jitsu, leadership, going back to school as an adult, also a shared experience we have. But Adam, thanks so much for having me, for inspiring this new series, frankly.
That's awesome.
And the setup. I really appreciate you hosting us here. It's a super cool gym.
I appreciate it, and I'm definitely glad to. I think this will be a fun time.
I agree. How long have you been open here?
So we opened our doors January 1st of this year. We got incorporated and everything in November of last year, but so almost a year, not quite.
Wow.
So it's been
Cool.
a wild ride for sure.
Nice. I look forward to the year celebrations. I'm sure there's some stuff planned.
We got some stuff planned. We got some things planned.
I bet.
So.
Well, in keeping with the show, people first, process, align, progress together. That's kind of the mantra, right? So let's keep you first. Let's talk about where you're from, where you grew up, how you got to law enforcement, right, in this region, and of course, anywhere else the conversation takes us.
No, super chill. So for me, I grew up in Pulaski County. It's in the Appalachia area in the New River Valley. I pretty much grew up there my entire life. I lived a little bit like in Withville, which is still kind of in that area and things, but grew up in Pulaski County. My mom's from there. My dad is actually like a first generation immigrant from Egypt and owned a restaurant in that area. He met my mom. Things happen.
Yeah.
Here I come.
Here you are.
You know. And so, I spent most of my like childhood growing up in this area. And my grandparents, I grew up with my maternal grandparents.
Okay.
My grandmother's from Merrimack. I'm sure you have an idea of where
I've
that's
heard of it,
at.
yeah.
Yep, over there near Blacksburg. And my grandpa's from Shawsville.
Okay.
And so I grew up in a very like old school Southwest Virginia type house.
Right.
And things. So that's kind of like, for me, it's kind of how, my childhood pretty much.
Yeah.
I went to live with my grandparents when I was 8.
Oh, wow.
And that actually kind of circled back around to law enforcement.
Sure.
So I always thought law enforcement was a really cool field. Growing up, in the 90s, you see cops and all this stuff, and you just think, oh, this is going to be the greatest job ever. These guys are doing all these things and stuff. And so it was always in my mind. But something that kind of like shaped me and kind of shifted me towards that. The main reason I went to go live with my grandparents is my mom never really had the best taste in men. My dad's already good. He's a good dude.
Gotcha.
They split up earlier on. We have a good relationship now, but never really had the best taste in guys, and had her own demons and stuff that she was going with. And there's a lot of domestic violence in the house and things, which at a young age obviously has a bigger impact.
Yeah.
And I remember it kind of culminated. I was about 7-8 years old. We were actually staying in Beaufort, South Carolina, which crazy. I don't even know how they got there, but I remember that's where we were at. And so my mom, who grew up here in Southwest Virginia as can be, speaks like perfect Arabic, like very fluent in it. I don't speak Arabic. I don't understand hardly anything from it.
Okay.
But my mom did, and so I remember when her and my stepdad would get into arguments, they would always argue in Arabic. And anytime that happened, there was normally something violent coming after that.
Wow.
And so I remember I was in the living room hearing them, and anybody that's been involved in that type of situation as a kid or as an adult, or even even some of the combat stuff, there's a very distinct sound that's made when flesh hits flesh. Right. 100%. And so I can, I hear that going, and they were like in the laundry room, like adjacent to the kitchen. So I take off running, and I remember I looked over to my right, and my mom was on her knees and just had her hands up like this, crying. And he's like standing there with his hand raised. And this part's always hard for me to kind of go, but I really felt kind of like a coward because I took off running out the house after that. And as I was making my way, I could hear him smack her and her yell and all this stuff. So I go running door to door, yelling for help, wanting to call my pawpaw because my grandpa was my hero and still is. And I ended up going to this officer's house just out of happenstance, just a couple doors down.
Yeah.
And I'm, banging on the door. And he comes in and I'm like, can you call my pawpaw? I gave him the number. And he's like, what's going on? He's like, I said, well, my mom and dad are fighting. And so he was like, all right, hold on a second. So he goes and gets his radio and gets his gun and his badge. And he said, well, show me where you live, son. So he takes me over. And this is, I guess, in the early 90s. And things are different now than they were then.
Right.
My mom comes to the door. I'm like super scared. And he's like, hey, what's going on over here? I got your boy over here saying that y'all are fighting. And he's terrified and all this stuff. And so mom kind of does the traditional, oh, baby, you misunderstood. That's not what happened.
Yeah.
We didn't, all this stuff, right? And so you don't have a cooperating victim. And, it really kind of tied his hands a whole lot. And so he really didn't have much choice but to kind of send me back
in there
into the house.
Yeah.
And so I was super scared at that point because I was like, oh, I'm in trouble now.
Here it comes,
I'm getting ready to get hit. And it didn't happen, thankfully. And things. Then the next following school year, I was, this was in the summertime. A couple months later, I was starting school in Pulaski County.
Okay.
I didn't find out till years later that that officer had actually remembered that number that I gave him.
Oh, wow.
The number's not even it's 540-674-6958. It's not my grandpa's their number anymore, but that was the house phone number forever.
Right.
Right. Cell phones kind of replaced all that, but that was like my savior number, right? And that officer ended up taking it on his own, called my grandpa in Pulaski County.
Oh, wow.
And said, hey, Officer so-and-so, your grandson came, this is what happened, you need to get him out of this house.
Wow.
And the next day my grandpa went and filed custody for me. And so really that officer definitely saved my life. I mean, I definitely had issues from that. You can't have that not go. But if I'd stayed there a few more years, who knows where I'd have been. I'd probably been on...
What would have happened?
I was pretty close to being on the other side of the law anyway. So,
So one of your earliest interactions with law enforcement was positive, right? Mm-hmm. And that officer went the extra mile to help get you out of that situation.
For sure. And, I had a couple other times where I remember this when we were living in Wythe County where they got into it and he tried to run over with his car and all this stuff. And he ended up getting arrested that night. And I remember the deputy coming in and, I don't know. Now that I'm in police work, I get it. But, the victims are always like, you got to be careful. And he was just like, he ain't going to do nothing to me. I promise you that. And, it was just kind of like, okay, he felt safe and
seems so brave and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And so fast forward, when I'm 21 years old and I married my high school sweetheart and I had no job. And the plan that I thought was going to happen didn't happen. And I was like, I'm married now. I've got to do something.
Right.
And I always liked the idea of being a police officer. But I knew they didn't get paid anything. And I was like, well, maybe I'll do that after I make a lot of money. Right.
Right.
And things, fate has things planned out more than we do.
Right.
And so one of my friends was actually had got hired on working at a jail. And I was like, man, I don't know if I really want to work at the jail. Like that's a lot. That's not what I see on TV.
Right.
That's not cops. And stuff. I needed a job, and he seemed to like it. And he's like, it's a good stepping stone.
Yeah.
And so I applied, and this is 2010. So the world in law enforcement was a completely different place then. To get hired on was very difficult. It's not like it is now. We can definitely touch on that later.
Sure.
But it was very difficult. And so fortunately, I had two friends that I knew that were working there, had gotten in because they knew people. They were related to people. And
networking makes a difference.
100%. And so I otherwise wouldn't have gotten hired, but ended up getting hired because of that. And so once you're in, you're kind of in and you start building your reputation and things and go from there. But actually, I really enjoyed corrections. It wasn't as bad as what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
It taught me a lot about myself and good things and bad things. Mm-hmm. And then honestly, I think it prepared me really well for when I ended up going to patrol and getting out here and doing the law enforcement aspect of it. I had a really good base. I was kind of naive. I'm still kind of a want to see the best in everybody kind of person. Even though I know better from years, but I still want to do that and things. So it kind of helped me be exposed a little bit more to that and just kind of see what what some of humanity's capable of in those settings.
Did that feeling when you were younger of cowardice, right, running from the problem, which you were little, which clearly I'm sure you've talked about, like it wasn't your fault, right?
Yeah.
That inspiration when you were in the academy, then when you're head on a swivel in the jail, I imagine, right, where you have to be, and then on the street.
So really, I mean, I really liked working in the jail.
Okay.
I didn't hate it. It was a very fast paced. If you have a direct intake where you're getting people directly intoxicated, it is a
little bit
fast,
of everything.
Oh, it's fast paced, and things, and so, and obviously, and I learned this too is, if the officer de-escalates the situation and things, you can have somebody who was very violent out there who comes in and it's not a problem at all, and vice versa.
Right.
And so, and I saw that even inside the jail.
Okay.
And it's because, people aren't trained in tactical communication, at least not then, and things and stuff. But I really enjoyed it, and I really wanted to do SWAT team stuff. That was like, I was like, man, this is what I want to do. I want to go in and like kick doors.
Cool looking things.
All this stuff, right? All the cool guy stuff.
Yeah.
And so I would have been fine staying working in the jail, but at the time, because this is a different time than it is now.
Right.
If you wanted to be on a SWAT team, you had to go work on patrol. And
earn your way there.
Yeah, and on that time, you had to like live in that jurisdiction.
Okay.
Well, now it's a lot, like I said, it's now it's like, do you have a pulse and can you pass a background check?
Is that just because they're hurting for people? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, really bad.
And the view, I imagine, between 2010 and now of law enforcement has gone like...
It's completely different.
Up and down.
It's so wild. But yeah, so anyway, I looked around for the most active SWAT team that I could find, and that was Town of Pulaski Police Department. And I was like, well, that's where I'm from. I know people there. And I ended up applying, getting hired, and that's kind of all she wrote with that. I mean, I went in and didn't look back, and I really enjoyed being out there on scene, being able to really feel like I was trying to make a difference.
Right.
And stuff. And it was action packed and fun stuff too. It was a lot more to it mentally. Right. As far as like knowing search and seizure stuff, knowing the correct policies, procedures, the criminal law, all these things, making sure you're in tune with all aspects of constitutional law, not just Fourth Amendment. It was a lot to it. If you want to do the job right, it's a lot to it. Right. It's simple but not easy, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I did that, and I was, oh my gosh, over a decade ago. So,
what was the prominent thing that you would respond to or be called out for as SWAT? Like a lot of domestic, is there a lot of like drugs?
Drug warrants. Yeah. I've been called out on like some hostage type situations and things. Right. Barricade subjects, that's like your bread and butter. Like you have somebody that's wanted and they hold up in a place, or even the hostage situation was a barricaded situation. Right. Right. And so that's kind of your biggest thing. Every now and then you'll get the higher risk warrants where this. Again, it's changed so much. Yeah. But you'll get the higher risk warrants where you're making entry and going things, and you're doing dynamic entry and things. Okay. That's not really the procedure really anywhere anymore. Wow. Times have changed a lot. And tactics always evolve. And so, the ways of, the 80s where they were just doing all the
revolver and
it's come a long way, and stuff, and especially with advances in like drone technology and things to that. It's a different game.
Did you find a lot of the 20 plus years now of global war on terror stuff, tactics that came back from people that
that's
were
where
in
a lot
there
of it came from. Yeah. So prior to that, a lot of tactics came from like the LA Police Department. Right. Like across the board.
Wait for SWAT. Don't go in. Pre-Columbine stuff.
All that stuff. And so that kind of got brought over, I guess, into the conflicts. But the other part of it is it's a different type of game that you're dealing with, right? When you're talking about fighting somebody overseas. And so hard lessons are learned. Right. And we try to make, or identify the problems, the failure points, and then make sure we're not making those again. And how can we remedy that? Right. And so then now that shift has come back over to law enforcement. So now
you're leading more.
We're learning more from like when I went through advanced SWAT school, that we had a guy that just got out of the SEAL teams, and he came and did our tactics. That was never a thing that would have happened before, right? And so as those things kind of like simmer down and things, you'll have more situations where it may go back the other way. Gotcha. But yeah, no, it helped. Like I remember going through like threshold assessment. Really kind of started. It seems like over. You're looking for wires in other situations where doors could be, wired for explosives. Well, that's normally not something we deal with in law enforcement. It happens,
Outliers usually,
but it's normally not it, right? And so, this kind of situation and how it goes. And when I started, we ran a shield and we were dynamic and we went in and you just dumped in and it was like overwhelming amount of violence of action to try to keep people from it being a situation. The idea wasn't go in there and rush to your death. It was go in there and overwhelm people so that they don't want to fight you.
Gotcha.
Your tactics are good.
Right.
Now we've switched a little bit more to kind of an officer safety perspective.
Right.
What is safer and doing things from like the threshold and assessing those situations, limited penetration, and thinking and realizing, in the law enforcement side, most of the time's on our side.
Right.
Like
that person's not leaving the house.
That's it. And we can deploy gas munitions and all this other stuff to make them come down to ground that we own. And so there's been an involvement that I've seen personally from there that's made us overall safer.
Right.
Of course, there's also political things that go into things of, well, we're not doing this now. We're not doing this now. We're worried about this, so we're not going to use you guys for this. That kind of stuff that's just part and parcel.
Stuff you got to deal with.
That's what we got to deal with. But it's definitely changed a lot.
Talk about de-escalation. So I was fortunate; I got to be an EMS captain in the Richmond area, and we did crisis intervention training. Right, the 4 plays, which is awesome. Like I used it. One of the people on my crew said something to somebody and we're like, not the place you talk crap.
Right.
And I was like, sir, I'm Kevin. I'm like, my name, your name, this and that.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy crap, like that worked. It chilled them out. Now it's not going to work all the time, obviously.
Yeah.
That, and we mentioned, lessons learned, tactical combat casualty care, or now TECC, but doing that, making that be just, cause I was a corpsman in like the 90s and 2000s, like before the GWAT. And so it was like, no tourniquet, don't do it. And of course now it's like right away, get it on, do it.
And
that kind of stuff.
we're filling them now.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started, I had it was like the SWAT T tourniquets, like the rubber.
Oh yeah.
You just went, very, very small profile, very just grab it as tight as you can and whatever and hope for the best, right? We weren't carrying cats or any of that stuff. So I remember them being like, man, this ain't Iraq, put that stuff away. put it in your go bag. And now we have them mounted on our vests or our gun belts or whatever. And they even have now, a lot of guys are running thigh holsters that already have one integrated. So you just ratchet it down. So you don't even have to worry about it. It's really neat.
That's amazing.
I think Alien Gear makes it.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, and so it's a completely, I started when we still wore polyesters, shiny boots. Like everything was dressy and stuff. And I'm still an old school, like that's in my heart is where I'm at. To now where people are wearing outer carriers and tennis shoes. And it's a completely
different thing.
Also, we weren't allowed beards. That was another thing. Like I was like, my beard was going to be my retirement plan.
Got to be shaving all the time.
Yeah, and now they're letting us have beards and things. And so there's a lot of maybe improvements and innovations that have gone there.
Maturity.
And there's some sadness in losing some of the old ways.
Yeah.
We see
very official looking, like wow, they're sharp.
We see that in jiu-jitsu and stuff too. Like you see it everywhere. But some of the old school ways are just they're not there anymore.
So speaking of jiu-jitsu, so you mentioned, and so we're familiar with jiu-jitsu. We met training at the flagship at Team Eden's place, which was great. But I also know that some of the stuff we know how to do to the average Joe looks horrible.
Yeah.
But it's actually not that bad, and that's affected law enforcement, right? Like chokes so they don't fight, holding someone, they're like, don't do that, right? Because of stuff that's happened.
Sure. There's a huge shift.
Yeah. And so at what point in your law enforcement career did you get into jiu-jitsu? And you've been training over a decade, not quite right. So, and were you prompted by another law enforcement officer that says, hey, you should do this? Because as we both agree, and I'm sure you emphasize, like law enforcement should study grappling, and just and you know better than me for sure. Yeah. But what got you to the mats though?
So, two parts of that. One, when I started, we were still doing, like when I went in the academy, we were doing this 5-block kata thing. Where, so we had,
90s martial arts stuff.
Yeah, but jiu-jitsu had started to get integrated. Some of the people in the Roanoke Valley, because that's where most of the local training academies are, they kind of understood that and knew. They weren't really great at it, but they knew there was something there, right? They kind of They let go of their other stuff.
Yeah.
But we're going to add this in. And so that part was good.
Okay.
I got into it after I got on the SWAT team at Pulaski. And
so you were in it for a little bit before you got yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I'd been involved in an officer-involved shooting right before that, like maybe 3, 4, 5 months from there, which I figured out later. The timing, jiu-jitsu definitely helped me with that kind of stuff. But my thought at the time was, all right, I'm on the SWAT team. I want to be the absolute best SWAT operator I can be.
Right.
So I'd spent a lot of time working on proficiency with firearms and things, and I wanted to make sure that I was up to date on that. But also, there's other sides to that. You not just shooting everybody. And the reality is, a lot of people will go their whole careers and never discharge their firearm, other than maybe like shooting a deer down, or something like that's been hit. Like it's not in a combat situation.
Gotcha.
That's the overwhelming majority still,
Which is good.
It is good. Yeah. It is good. That's definitely what you want.
Yeah.
I think the days of officers never drawing their firearm has gone pretty much away, but actually discharging it is not. It's still not the most very, very small percentage of your departments have officers that have been involved in these things.
Yeah.
You're more likely to put hands on somebody. That's like depending on where you work. Sometimes that's a daily
regular
occurrence.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And so if you're competent with that and proficient with it, then it gives you just so many other benefits: control, time to make decisions, tactical concern, all this stuff.
Right.
But I knew there was a hole in my game. I'd wrestled in school, and I really wasn't a good wrestler. Had a lot of mad anxiety and things. Mm-hmm. And I knew it was something that I needed to get better at. If I was going to be the pinnacle SWAT guy, it was one of the things I needed to do.
You gotta be empty hands.
Yep. And so if you're in the New River Valley, especially, 10 years ago, team man's
one place.
I mean, that's where you go.
Right.
Do you want to get good at jiu-jitsu?
Right.
Like that's where you went.
Right.
And things. And so I was really fortunate.
Nice.
Tim was Professor Mann was very generous with me and working with me. I mean, I was working at the police department getting ready as a supervisor, making $32,000 a year.
Wow.
I was like,
how you gonna afford?
Yeah, and stuff. And so, a lot of times, I lived in Pulaski, so it was like a 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
One way to get there. And so he was like, hey man, if you just need to come in and you're late, I get it. Work, it's no big deal. It's not disrespectful if it's work related. Come in and at least get your rounds in and train. That's awesome. That was being understanding like that really helped me develop a lot. And then I went in there. I went to my very first class. It was a morning class. And the black belt that was teaching was like, all right, here's your waiver. Pretty much, here you go.
Yeah.
It's the old
Jump
ways.
in.
It's the old ways, right?
Yeah.
And so I go in, and give you an idea, Brant was still a blue belt.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brant's one of our black belts.
Yeah. And he was just as not physically imposing then as he is now.
Yeah.
And man, he worked me. He worked me, especially having no idea. He worked me.
Yeah.
And then there was this girl. She was maybe 135 pounds, maybe. She probably was less than that. And she was a blue belt, and she got on my back. And at the time, I was like really big into like lift power. I wanted to be the big, strong dude and stuff. And I was way bigger and stronger at that point probably than I'd ever been in my entire life.
Yeah.
And man, I couldn't do anything. And she choked me, and I was like,
what in the
how?
World? Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, I said, if this little girl can do this, if I learn this, it's going to be a different thing. Right. And I was hooked, and I just want to go back and keep going and things. And
which is the thing, you mentioned being hooked, and I would imagine a large percent of people that stick with it more than a year, 2 years, longer for sure, have a similar story.
Yeah.
I have this idea about myself. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, this idea about myself is shattered.
Yeah.
Because I had similar, I started in Richmond for maybe a year, and then same thing. I was like, this is in Blacksburg?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Henzo Gracie, what? Right from Henzo Gracie to there, I was like, oh my God. And then, there was, I'm a morning class guy, and there was, this tall, thin guy. Same thing. I lift weights. I'm like, sweet. Yeah. Worked. I got calf sliced so many times, and I was like, oh my, how does that keep happening? Because they're like, just try to get around my legs. And you're like, no problem, dude.
Yeah.
and it doesn't happen.
No, for sure. And, and that, you kind of touched on it too. I just remember thinking, I grew up in Pulaski County. When I was a young kid with my mom, I grew up in like Section 8 housing, and like I wasn't well off, and just, you know, when you grow up, and maybe it's the same everywhere, but sometimes you grow up and you're like, man, there's just nothing to do around here, and all this place sucks and all this.
Yeah.
You know, and then as you grow up, I think you get a better perspective. But like with Tim's place, I didn't realize how good the jiu-jitsu, like I knew it was better around here,
right?
You know, but I was like, well, just because it's super awesome here, doesn't mean it's going to be awesome anywhere else,
right?
And then I go other places, and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just shocking because Tim's a Pulaski County guy too,
right? And
it's just kind of one of those things, man. It's kind of cool to see somebody
from there to New York,
from there, to be able to bring something at that level to this area. It's you know, right. if you're a black belt in the New River Valley, even like the Roanoke Valley,
true. Yeah.
Tim has touched you at some point,
right?
In some way,
yeah.
And that's just something that it's cool. It's cool to see that, you know, somebody came from the area and place that I came from was able to do all that, and stuff, and make such a big impact on people's lives.
It's cool you mentioned that, because for this series, I know other people in businesses, but like half of the episodes are all going to be in dojos, like spawning from Team Man, and then Blue Gorilla, you know, down in Galax and up in Roanoke, and you know, out in Pulaski. So it is cool to see and have that exposure to all those different people. And you mentioned driving from here to there. People come from, you know, people drive 45 minutes an hour, like 3 times a week, every day. And I'm like, I live like 10 minutes from there, so I'm like, man, that's so far, you know, so spoiled. Yeah. But yeah, it's amazing to have that, and then to, like, for you to develop it and then stick with it. And you've been training how long?
A little over 10 years. I just hit my 10-year mark this year.
And you've been a black belt for how long?
Almost 2 years now.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And so we talked about, well, I guess one, looking back, do you have memories of, because jail time, I would imagine, well, when you worked in the jail, the goal is still probably not to go hands-on all the time, right? With all that.
But you know what? That's where I learned the most. So you'll go hands-on with people more consistently in the jail than
on the street.
Patrol. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Which is shocking because they're already caught.
Right.
Right. You'll have more people that will actually want to, like, hurt you.
Right.
Things.
Do you look back and go, oh, if I would have known this would have been easier, better,
I think of
different?
a couple situations where it would have made all the difference in the world.
Right.
Like, all the difference in the world.
Right.
But really, in that environment is really where I learned how to talk to people. You know, sometimes there's this old mentality that if you're a nice guy, if you're really nice to people, you're weak.
Right.
And so, you know, the old school ways, you don't do that. Like, the old school ways, you know, you're clean shaven, you don't smile, everything's direct. You know, all this, you know,
very
sir, man,
paramilitary looking,
instead of just being a person. And so, I had one incident in particular. I was so mad because this guy was just giving me up the road, and I could not get him, like, could not reason with him, anything like that. Oh, man. And so I was like, all right, everybody locked down.
What's happening?
And the next shift lieutenant came on, and we went in there, and I'm prepared. Like, I'm like, we're snatching this. He gone out of the cell. It's happening. It's happening. He already said, y'all go ahead and get every officer in Christiansburg up here. You're going to take all you to get me out. And I'm like, still going to take one. And I went in there, and this guy came in. He passed away a couple years ago, Larry Akers. He's a great guy. He came in, and he sat down on the bed next to the guy, which safety-wise wasn't the smartest thing. However, there was 8 of us there.
Yeah.
And he just talked to him. And that guy completely changed his demeanor.
Right.
Pissed me off. However,
you were ready to roll.
After I left, I thought about it. I was like, man, making somebody do something physically is easy. Working on their mind's a lot harder. And he was just naturally good at it. He just naturally been in jail. He just naturally he wasn't no one said he was a soft guy or anything like that. Yeah. He just knew how to talk to people.
That's huge.
And I was like, I've got to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And so I got the verbal judo book by Dr. George Thompson.
Oh, cool.
And that's worth its weight in gold. It should be mandatory reading for every police officer, period.
That's a good point. You mentioned working on your mind, right? And then you touched on being an officer involved shooting. You said jiu-jitsu helped you with that. Can you share, like, perspective how you have found not just the physical, because I think, for lack of a better word, it's kind of obvious. If you grapple people a lot, people that don't grapple, even if they street fight a lot, like you're like, cool, you know some things, right? But dealing with your own stuff, I know I have found is way harder than, well, sometimes getting your ass kicked on the mats also sucks. But I'll say, you know, using jiu-jitsu or how did you find that helpful to deal with, whether it was when you were younger, whether it was the shooting, all of that together?
No, so I didn't even, after I had the shooting, I didn't take much time off. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like people see in the movies or whatever. Like I took 5.5 shifts off. Half
Wow.
those shifts because the shooting happened in the middle of the shift.
Okay.
And I was back to work. And I'd have been back to work.
Consciously? Like, I just want to get back to it?
Yeah. Also, I didn't want to take more time.
Stigma.
Because I didn't want people to think that, whatever. But really, all I really wanted to do is I wanted to come back and I wanted to make sure I could still do the job.
Okay.
That was my concern because I really loved being a police officer. And I didn't want this thing to happen to me and then I'd not be safe and have to get out of the business, right?
Right.
And so I wanted to come back. That was part of it. In hindsight, and I'm not dinging the chief or anything.
Sure.
In hindsight, if I was in that position, I was the chief, I would have made him take time off.
Right.
And then eased it in there. But he's an old school guy. He'd been in a couple shootings himself. He's like, you're good.
Right.
And,
and also a different time now than it was when that happened.
And it's
right?
a different. Again, it was a different thing. This happened like right after the stuff in Ferguson with Michael Brown.
Oh wow.
And the officer there. Yeah. So I was. That's when things really started to shift for us. But I remember thinking after it happened, because I was fielding a body camera, but I was fielding it just for T&E. Like I was a proactive officer. They said, "Go try this out. Use it, see what you think of it. We're going to try to get some body cameras. We just need to figure out which one we want to go with."
Just evaluating and see.
And I tried a few of them. I broke a few of them, right. Like just cheaply made. And I had this one, and we had taken we disabled the pre-record because I was worried I was going to be like in the bathroom taking a piss or something, right. And it was going to go on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now people can. Anyway, so so I went up to the whole thing, and then I didn't turn it on until after the shot's already been. And I was like, man, I'm done. They're going to think I murdered this guy. That's all I kept thinking.
Oh, it was off.
Yeah.
And why was it off?
Yeah. Like they're going, and it obviously didn't work out that way. And, people in the community, so it's important to have good buy-in in the community, stood behind me and things and stuff and stuff. But yeah, so I went back to work and didn't give me enough time to really process everything.
Yeah.
I just kind of put it on the back burner, which I've been good at doing my whole life. Just put it in the back burner and keep going. And you can only do that till you start running out of eyes to put them on.
Right.
And there was a change in me for sure that everybody noticed and saw, but didn't really know what to say.
Right.
And the ones that had been in situations, either in overseas or here, was like, that's normal. Yeah, he's a little
normal for when that happens.
He's a little more angry.
Yeah,
that's normal. I'm glad he's not such a nice guy anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. It wasn't like people just. And some people knew, like my wife, but she didn't know what to say.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and so just out of happenstance, I started training jiu-jitsu. And looking back at it with hindsight, it absolutely saved my life, my marriage, my career, everything.
Yeah,
because it was making me feel better when I went there and giving me some outlet and helping me kind of deal with these things indirectly. I'd still have to go back and face them head on, but it definitely kept me afloat. Right. And so I ended up having a captain who, had it been in a very similar situation, some of the occurrences with his shooting were similar to mine, and those things bothered him, like they bothered me. And him saying that, I remember, I'll never forget, we were in the squad room, and I had to hold back tears. I was like, man, if somebody gets me, like I'm not crazy. This is a totally normal thing, and it's okay. He's the second in command. He's telling me this, and he's had a career and things. It's not like my career's over if I talk about this. Right. And they got me set up to go talk to a lady. She was very nice. She was absolutely not equipped to handle what I was telling her. Right. And things, but we worked on some childhood stuff, which helped. Yeah. She was very well equipped with that. And so I kind of started to understand a little bit more about how the trauma can stack on top of things and stuff like that. And so it kind of kept me under that red line, kind of got me back, and I started like, okay, and then, I'm good till the next incident happens, and then the next incident. And so I realized soon that, if I didn't do something, there was going to be, I was just like, it's not good. Right. And so I talked to one of my friends who'd been in a similar situation, somebody I trusted, one of the same guys who had messaged me or talked to me before and was like, hey, y'all, we need to say something to him before there's, he ends up
Good
doing
on that
something.
person, yeah.
And so he was like, all right. So he pulls me, and I say, hey, can you meet me? We go and have lunch. And I tell him, I was like, man, I went on this call, and it's this dead 3-year-old, and there's nothing I can do to save him, and I don't know what to do, and I'm pretty sure the mom has something to do with it, and all this stuff, and he'd been in a very, very, very similar situation. His was way more traumatic than mine. And he was like, let me get you in touch with somebody, and got me in touch with the doctor, who was fantastic. And she was equipped to deal with
trauma informed.
Oh
stuff.
yeah, she was great.
Good.
She worked at the VA and then left the VA and did her own private thing, and was like, I got to sleep with myself at night. I want to do my own thing.
Yep.
And I was like, I get that. And so she was great, and she also helped me realize, she's like, all this physical activity that you're doing, this is how you're dealing with it. And she's like, I want you to keep doing it because it's good for you. It's way better than you
movement is medicine.
Yeah, way better than going out here and drinking and womanizing and doing all the she's like, you're already taking enough risk at work. You need to quit chasing that adrenaline. But this is really good for you,
right? And
especially the jiu-jitsu part, because you can get that connection, those same feelings and stuff. It's really good. And so then fast forward, have other stuff, other kids and things. Then I have somebody who's really close to me, just kind of like my big brother at work. We ran together a lot. We ran an ultra marathon together.
Wow.
We ran the Blue Ridge Half together and stuff. And he was just a great guy. He was my boss for a while. And he ended up getting hit one night by a drunk driver on his way to the gym. I happened to be the shift supervisor that night.
Man.
And I hear the call come out. I was dealing with some domestic out in the sticks with a girl. We're always out there dealing with stuff on.
Repeat offender.
Yeah. And I was just like, whatever. And I hear the call come out, and I'm like, I know that section. It's a pretty rough section. And I start heading that way. And then, I hear the first officer that's there, one of my guys. So, I got one that's gone. Another one's, still here, but fading. And so, I holler at him. I was like, hey, man, you doing fine? Just secure everything. I'll be there in a minute.
On
we'll
site?
Get taken care of. I'm calling.
Gotcha.
And so then I start calling the supervisor. I'm like, hey, let's call it the crash team. We got a fatal crash. And all this stuff. And just supervisor, man. Just leadership.
Focus on work. Do that stuff.
And then the dispatcher calls me, and she says, hey, that tag comes back to Perry Hodge. I can't get him on his cell phone. And I was like, just couldn't believe it. I was like, I'll call you back. I hang up on her, and I start calling him.
Yeah.
Nothing. Calling, nothing. Call the supervisor. Hey, this is what's going on. I'm trying to call him. Whatever. I was like, I'm on my way. I'm like 30 minutes away if I drive like I got sense.
Right.
I was like, I'm trying to get there as quick as I can. I don't know what's going on. And so I finally get there. I don't even really remember the drive there. I was like, this can't be real. And I get there, and I see the back of his truck, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I go up, and, I see him there. Yeah. I see he's not wearing a seatbelt, which pissed me off. And I go to the other guy, and I see he's there, and he's alive. And, there's paraphernalia stuff in the car. And, tested me probably the most that I could be tested as a police officer to make sure that my integrity was right, because, I didn't put a hand on the guy, and I couldn't have. It just wasn't the right thing to do. You got to do the right thing when no one's looking. So called state police, had them come handle it, and then had choked down the tears, said back, I was like, hey, man, you the boss. So go block off this road here, go block off this road here, start getting people, get assignments, trying to make sure, trying to put my guys, I don't want you near here. I want you somewhere different. I don't want you to have to see what I just saw. Right. We don't all need to see this. Right. One's enough. So, yeah, and I knew when that happened, I knew jiu-jitsu was what I needed, because I don't want to go drinking and all this other stuff. So I go in. It was like, the way it happened was kind of weird. It was the next day, but for me it felt like another day, because we were on nights. Oh, so it happened it's on a Thursday, and then on a Friday it's like the next day. But for me it was like 2 days away, because I was working on nights anyway. Yep. And I remember I went in, and Professor Marion was there. He was teaching a morning class, and I sat there, and he came over and kind of put his hand on my head and shoulder, and he knew.
Yeah.
And he knew Perry. And man, I feel bad for anybody rolling with that day. I mean, I put the screws, but you know what? I felt better, right. And they didn't take anything from it. That was the thing. They just thought, oh, he's just going hard today, you know. Right. So
that is an interesting jiu-jitsu thing you get used to. It's like we were talking about earlier. You know, you get like a bump on your nose, a bloody like twist. You're like, well, it happens, or you know. There are times people do too much, and you're like, all right. And then I'm sure you, as Mad Enforcer's, like, let me go calm that person down. Yeah. But as a therapeutic thing, and understanding, you know, from Tim and other folks, it's amazing. Horrible that it had to happen and that you did that. And you said something earlier too, and this is something I learned. Same thing. Let it all bottle up my head. Came out. I did drink too much. Then had a huge panic attack. Realized, I should probably deal with all this stuff, which I kind of had and then didn't. And I think a buddy of mine that I was a corpsman with mentioned, he's a career fire guy out in Tucson, was like, hey man, there's no like trauma Olympics, because I heard you say like it wasn't as bad as that person's, but yours is different than mine, is different than theirs, which I'm sure you've learned in talking to the doc and other folks and processing, so you're not big engines out there of not having to go, well, yours is worse, I shouldn't feel this bad, because some people's almost just got an offender bender could be life changing.
For sure.
Some people's, like, you know, I've seen dead kids, it's horrible. Right. And you know, most people would go, oh, well, that's worse and that's worse. But to the person, if a person's never been exposed to trauma at all, like something small does it, right? And so so I say that to say, in addition to jiu-jitsu and you know, because you get all the physical stuff out and mental, and I'm a huge movement as medicine guy. What are other tools that you learned that can help other folks that have or are dealing with similar situations now?
So man, jiu-jitsu really is the best. It's just so much better than everything else. And in part of, you know, I lifted weights and I ran. I enjoyed running, kind of getting out and things, and kind of keeping me alone with my thoughts to kind of process things. All that was fine. One of the situations I did that with jiu-jitsu, and actually Perry was kind of in there, and I talked to him like, hey man, we'd go running together, I'd be like, man, I keep thinking about this kid and all this stuff, and you know, just being able to kind of bond. But man, it's just when you can take that aggression stuff out on another person. It's just so much different. It
sounds horrible, but you gotta be trained to understand it.
It does, and it's one of those things that like no one gets their feelings hurt about it. We're just here to train and things, and you know, you can go push the weights a certain amount, but they're not pushing back.
Yeah, it's different.
You know, and stuff, and everyone's got their you know, their own bouts they're fighting and stuff. But really, jiu-jitsu has been the biggest thing. The other thing, from the law enforcement perspective, is I think we're starting to get there, but we still haven't fully removed the stigma that if you talk to somebody, you're weak or you're going to lose your job. That was a concern of mine too. I was like, man, if I tell people what I'm thinking, they're going to be like, this dude's crazy, and they're going to take my badge from me, and I don't know what else I'm going to do besides being a cop. At that time, that was all I had. Like, I had my wife, obviously, but like that's. I was like, I don't know how to do anything else. I'm gonna go flip pizzas again. You know, my dad owned a restaurant. I can do that. You know, and
flip pizzas and people.
You know, and stuff. So, just if people can just take that first, it's always the first step is the hardest part. Just, in anything, starting the business, it's the hardest part is just taking the first step. And you know, if we remove that stigma and just know that, hey, sometimes you just need to reach out and have somebody just listen to you.
And like you said, and like I found out too, when you actually talk to other people, particularly people that have been in a similar thing, you find out, oh, everybody's got their own shit. Everyone. But in particular, your people, right? Or people you didn't even know, and you're like, hey, I'm really having this problem. This, and they're like, oh, did you know this about me? And I'm like, no. And then I go, well, God, I should have asked you that before. Like, you ask. At least I found I care more and ask more about other people when I'm trying to fix my own stuff. By helping them, you know, or asking them to help me.
No, 100%. And I think too, it's something where, and I'd imagine you probably even saw some of this in the military, or anything that you're doing. Take out the trauma stuff of it. If that person's not like a subject matter expert on it, a lot of times you don't want to hear about it. You know what I'm saying? Like the person that comes in here for their first trial class, I don't want them to tell me how to do an arm bar. I learned that from Tim Mann. Okay, you know what I mean? You're not qualified as and they could be telling me something that's good. But they don't have the credentials to back it up. And so human nature, we just try to, I try to get better at that too as time goes on. It's just, you know, like Tim told me that Henzo told him, never turn a deaf ear on someone's knowledge. You know, because it might be bullshit, but it might be good too. And so if you have that mindset, it helps. For a police officer in particular, it is difficult because we don't. I don't want to say we don't have a good relationship with mental health. I would say that.
I mean, it's not
mental health
inaccurate
professionals,
though. Yeah.
You know, we're used to like having to go get people and then they're gone for 3 days where they're in a mental. You know, like we automatically assume that if we talk to somebody, that they're going to lock us up in some mental health facility
or something.
Yeah, and that's just that's not the case. And so sometimes you can get officers that will open up to other officers that have been in those situations. They're like, okay, they're going to understand. Because I remember the first time I told all the thoughts that I was having to this lady, I saw in her face, man, like she was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the domestic stuff.
Right.
And so, and then when I go in, I talk to my captain about it, and he tells me, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm normal. And then I go talk to this other lady, and she's like, yeah, that's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
And so there are people that don't understand that aren't in that frame and have been through that, but it's hard to get people to open up unless you have those credentials already.
Yeah. 100%. As cool as we want to be, we're like, oh, I appreciate your helping. You're like, you're not helping. Yeah. And it's similar. Like I had never, other than like we went to marriage counseling like once or whatever years ago, and then finally when I was dealing with my stuff, went somewhere. Yeah. And I dive into like fixing my own stuff. Like I lead, programs and projects. So like it's my thing. Like plan this, do that, triage this. Yeah. So I'd already had an idea and started doing it. So when, even this person who's got the credentials on the paper, I was like, oh, like I just did that at home. I was like, for me, one thing that did help, which is tough, and I don't know if it's one of the tools you got, was like a trauma journal, which is super hard. So they're like, hey, remember everything and write it down again. And you're like, okay. Yeah. And then you start doing it. You're like, oh shit. Yeah. Which is hard, but also helpful. Not that I want people to just jump out there and do that, because you need to do it as part of like a thing.
Yeah. I never really did that. I did start writing a book. I haven't finished it yet.
Nice.
I'm about maybe 60% of the way through. Just talking about like some stuff that happened to me. Yeah. Just wild stuff that I think just, it was therapeutic writing some of that stuff out.
Right.
But one thing she helped me was just trying to look like the trauma loops and kind of learning what those triggers were and understanding it. Yeah. And, once you understand the problem, the solution is halfway solved there. Yeah. And so that helped me out a lot. I did some of the EMDR, I guess. Oh, yeah. EDMR. Yep. EMDR. Mm-hmm. And I did some of that, and it was okay. Yeah. Some people love it and swear by it. It was okay for me. It wasn't anything groundbreaking. Right. Being able to talk and, like, openly has helped. And then I started teaching classes at the police academy and in, like, our 3-gun school and things, and talking about officer-involved shootings. And so I came into it from a different perspective than a lot of people. Right. Where they're, I don't have a great war story. I wish I did. Mine is just really, this happened. This almost happened to me. This is the end result. And people, I guess, are interested in that. But I'd like, listen, man, the reality is, this is how many hours I spent training to prepare for this. This was the end result. Small window. Everything that happened after that is what they don't tell you about. And so, like, they put me in for an award for valor from the Virginia Association of Chiefs of Police. Highest award they give. Still don't feel like I deserve it. Yeah. Great resume builder. Yeah. Still don't feel like I deserve it. And I had those feelings going into it. And then the person that gets the award right before me, his widow's up there. Wow. Yeah, accepting it. And I'm like, I don't even deserve to share this stage with her. Then I come back to town. I'm working an overtime assignment because we don't make any money. Yeah. And at a Yankee game, and the Calfee girls were on like the front page of the Southwest Times, and so they were handing out the newspapers. Oh wow! Right. Yeah. Well, right above the Calfee girls, there's a little blurb with my picture on there, talking about getting the award for valor. Right. And so then I had people in the stadium coming in and saying, "Wait, is this you?" Oh wow! And it was really hard for me to like deal with, because I was like, man, I almost felt like ashamed to get the awards. Like, I don't know. That's just, like, there's a lot that goes into that. But that kind of stuff is stuff they don't tell you about. They don't tell you about sitting there and, like, staring at your pistol and thinking, like, am I going to do it? Right. They don't tell you about that. Yeah. And nobody wants to talk about it. Right. And that's the problem. And so then you're in that and you feel like you're all alone because you have no one that's there that says, hey, man, it's all right. It's okay. We're going to work through this. You're not going to do it. Right. We're going to talk about reasons why. No one's, and that has slowly started to change in law enforcement. We still got a ways to go. Yeah. But that is way better than it was 10 years ago.
What else is way better transition is the
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu in
Yes.
Radford, Virginia.
Yes.
Right? In Blue Gorilla. So talk about challenges. Starting your own business. We talked about coming into this building that wasn't as nice as it is now.
Yeah. So it's a really interesting story.
Yeah.
So when I got my blue belt, I saw how much it had changed me and helped me. And I always thought that this is something I wish I'd had when I was a kid. You probably thought the same thing. I wish I'd started training this when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be so much better, right?
Yeah.
And it just wasn't, Tim was here, but also like geographically for me, just when I was a kid and couldn't drive, it wasn't, wasn't a thing for me. So I remember thinking, I was like, man, I'd love to have a school one day when I retire from police work. And my retirement's going to cover everything. I was also naive about that.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to let women and children train here for free.
Wow.
And I'll just charge as much as I need to keep the doors open, and that'll just be what I do when I retire. And I was like, that'll be great. That's what I was thinking. I have learned that that's not how business works and things and stuff. But it was in my mind.
Sure.
And so this kind of like altruistic idea was there. Fast forward to last year, and my wife was a teacher. She spent like a decade teaching.
Wow.
And she was like, I don't think I want our kid in public school anymore. Like I think we have 3 kids, and she's like, I think I'd like to, she was fed up with some things going on at work and things, and she had some great people that she worked with and things, but just the general direction.
Sure.
And she was like, I just would rather them be home and stuff. I was like, cool, let's look at that.
Yeah.
And so you start adding it up, and you're like, man, we need to make some money because this is going to. I'm trying to figure out.
Homeschool's also not free. Right?
Yeah. It's not like a free ride.
Right.
And so, especially not if you want to do it the right way. And so we started figuring up, and I was like, man, I gotta make like $1,000 a month somehow.
Yeah.
If I can do that, I think we're good. And I said they're figuring up overtime. I was like, I don't think I can realistically count on that.
Right.
And she was like, you should consider doing it. Like, you've got your black belt
Open
now.
your own place, yeah.
I taught the kids program at Tim's for at that point like 3 years.
Yeah.
And was teaching adult classes and stuff, and just kind of just like you already got your feet wet in it, just go. And I had started also teaching at the Radford CrossFit gym at Guardian Health Performance.
Nice.
I started teaching there.
Okay.
Probably about a year and a half, 2 years before I opened this place.
Right.
I talked to him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, go ahead." And so I had to tell people. I was teaching just a couple of CrossFit coaches.
Cool.
And so I already had like a base. And so I was like, all right. So I was like, all right, we're all in.
Yeah.
And we go in. Talked to him about it. He's like, yeah. He's like, I'll support you any way I can. I want you to be successful.
Nice.
He was great. He was great. And so I was like, all right. So I went in, and I was like, all right, we're going to get the LLC. Let's do this. We're going to sell our house. And we're going to move, and we're going to rent somewhere for a year. Oh yeah, it was a burn the boats moment, and that's exactly how I looked at it. It's like there's no other option. We're burning the boats, and we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And so we ended up selling the house, getting everything from that, and I put a deposit on a place down, like just 3 or 4 places down the road, because really I was just like, I'll just try to model myself the way that Tim has done his.
Already started up, yeah.
Yeah, like Team Manning's all I know. That's just what
yeah.
And so. It's be a college town, all this stuff. So we go in, and I go, and they text me like a couple weeks before we're getting ready to open. They're like, it's not going to be ready in time. And people had already I already started social
Signed
media,
up
did a
and
website. I had people prepaid for memberships and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so my reputation is very important to me.
Right.
It shouldn't be, because the reality is, the only thing that really matters is what your kids and your family think of you, right?
Yeah.
But it being,
it does them.
All this time in public service, my word means something to me.
Sure.
And if I tell you something, I want you to be able to feel comfortable with it. It's very important to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I told people January 1st, we've got to figure something out. And so I ended up reaching out to the people that own this place, Taylor Hollow, and talked to them about some place. There was another place I looked at. They'd already leased it out and all this stuff. And I'm sitting there, and they're like, well, hey, we've got this place. We're getting ready to buy it. It would fit, but it's not going to be ready for 3-4 months. And I was like, that doesn't help me.
Yeah.
And they said, but what we do have is we have a building next door. It's like 6,000 square feet. It's huge.
Wow.
But the 2 conference rooms in the front, if you want to just put your mask down there until we got stuff done and hold classes there, we'll give you a reduction on the rent and everything, and that way you can start.
Nice.
I came in, they were super great. We started. We had these mats not even all these mats. We had like maybe 2/3 of these mats,
small space,
in 2 different conference rooms.
Yeah,
and people just started coming in, and we would have classes in these little conference rooms.
Wow!
And we did that from January until May, and then May they got everything done here.
Right.
We moved everything over. Got did the painting, the floors, hung these up, all that stuff and things, and yeah, didn't look back.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so you moved into May,
Mm-hmm.
so not quite a year, right?
Yep.
This year in this location,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I've seen followed. I've seen some of the instructors you have here that still train at Team Manning,
Yep.
and then I'm way overdue coming here. So again, thanks for having me. But you are huge. You mentioned the community, right?
Yeah.
And it feels like connected to that first officer that helped you. Now you as an officer are helping the community with all these different. So in addition to mean, good jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
Descended from Tim and Henzo before him, but all the greats. You also do a lot for the community in addition to teaching great classes. So what are some of those things that you provide?
So like, for example, we had our grand opening. We were fortunate enough to be able to give out a couple of like $500 scholarships to kids, to high school kids that kind of go in. And we had a whole process for it. Taven was actually one of the recipients of
cool.
So it worked. I mean, he was kind of like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But we had him do an essay and things like that. And it's really, I feel like there's no point in being successful if you can't share that with other people.
Right.
And so we've done that. We tried to do fundraisers for various things, for like Kaizen or when they need to go to Fargo and things. And it's all really, it's nothing I've done. It's the community here that I have that kind of came around and kind of brought everything up. And so we really try to keep that as one of our tenants. So we took our first year, from the day we got our LLCs till now, and said, all right, well, what is it that we really stand for? What are our core values? And so we landed on 3 of them, and loyalty, valor, and community, in no specific order. And there's no point in having a core value if you don't do stuff to stand up to that,
right?
And kind of knowing the direction that you're going and what you're wanting to be. And so I don't know what this next year is going to have through. I have a couple of ideas that I think will be really good.
Nice.
But it's really, it's a success of the people that I have coming here. It's not me. I won't mention names, but I've got people that sponsor kids' memberships and things, and we try to meet them, work with them on that. And for people they don't even know, just, hey, I want to do this to help.
Give it to somebody.
And stuff. And that's the community we want to have. We try to stay invested with our local businesses. We try to work and try to push business towards them. Yeah. Radford's not in the best shape financially right now, but we try to do what we can. We've offered like free months to any city employees and their kids. Wow. We'll probably do that again in the new year. We get some discounted rates for city employees. Like I said, I appreciate everything that they do. Yeah. I know that if something happens here, the police department's going to show up. They're going to handle business. I know if this place catches on fire, the fire marshal. They came here one day. We had a CO2 or a carbon monoxide alarm going off, and they came and handled everything. Super quick and things. And those kind of things are definitely appreciated. Right. And so we try to anything we do to try to make the community better, be invested with it, and things. Whether it's community events or just us trying to cultivate a community here. Right. With we do cookouts and things. We have a Christmas party coming up next Saturday. Oh, nice. And things for members, and so we try to do things to kind of have everybody be part of the team. Build that, yeah. And so, like I said, 2026, I got some things up in the air. And I think they'll be good, and we'll just see. Hopefully, they'll work out. That's cool. What was from hearing how you grew up, challenges you faced when you were younger, challenges you faced when you're older, right? And policing, and then giving back. And you mentioned it's not you, it's other people, but it takes a leader to bring those people together, which I will say you are, right? I know you've taught my classes. I don't know how angry you were, but smashed me on the mats before. But I'll say, as far as helping, you mentioned Radford, like bring Radford up, bring jiu-jitsu in this area up, bring other people up. It's clear just in talking to you and, social media. So everybody, Blue Gorilla BJJ, it's on Facebook, Instagram, it's everywhere, right? Yeah. And X. YouTube, you have a YouTube channel? We've tossed around. Not yet. We have another idea. Again, it's up in the air. Gotcha. It might be a little bit more community based. Right. Cool. A little bit more inclusive just for members. Okay. If that makes sense. It does. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So
This has been great. We got folks coming in for open mat today, which is cool. So I'll get to roll. Maybe we'll get some rolling footage.
Absolutely.
That kind of stuff. But Adam, man, it was great to catch up.
Absolutely.
Haven't seen you for a while. There's questions I ask everybody in this new series, right? It's local regional questions.
Sure.
So I'm going to try and do this without putting my glasses on.
Okay.
See how that challenge is. What is your favorite place in the New River Valley to clear your head?
Blue Gorilla Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Not
Even a question.
I know.
Not even a question.
I wrote it down, and then when I asked it, I was like,
Team man is really good. I like going over there and seeing the people. It's just timing. You know, we're open 6 days a week. We're probably getting ready to go to 7 days.
Yeah.
And things. So it's kind of hard. But yeah, no, any doing jiu-jitsu there or here, you know, if you're in Radford, obviously I want to say it's here.
That's right.
That's right. If you're in Blacksburg, it's Team Man.
And that's
not even a question.
And that's a good thing. And I mentioned the other locations, which we'll reveal throughout the season. There's more, which is great. But yeah, if you're in Radford, come here. What's your favorite local food place after training? Like, you got to get that meal, get the protein, eat whatever.
I really like Sharky's.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money over there. It's a classic. Really, everything here on Main Street's really good.
That's good.
Arabica coffee, I go in there. That's where I got this coffee from.
Nice.
I go in there and get dessert and stuff. My kids love it. Local family-owned business and stuff.
Right.
I mean, everywhere's great. The Mexican restaurant, everything's great in Radford.
Right.
Like we that's one thing. The rest of the food here it's pretty good.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Sharky sticks out because we're gonna go there. What is something that people should know about this area that outsiders miss? Right. It's not on all the billboards. It's not in the news.
So what I'll say is my sister, my oldest sister, grew up in Greensboro. It's a completely different environment than here, right? And I think it's nothing. This is not a ding on her at all. It's just it just prompted me when you said that. People outside may think, oh, they're backwoods or they're closed-minded or you feel in whatever stereotype is there, right?
Yep.
But man, the people here are so warm. They're friendly. Some people are rough. I'm sure.
Right.
You go to anywhere, you're going to find that.
Right.
But really here, the people make the community.
Yeah.
And you're going to find a lot of really good-hearted people here. And there's really anything that you want is either here or within a really short driving distance.
Right.
So, it's just a great place. So,
I agree.
Great people.
Nice. Well, thanks for answering the questions, being the first on the People Process Progress of the New River Valley.
Last, right?
Huh?
Being first, you're last.
That's right. That's right. I really appreciate it, man. It's
Absolutely.
good to see you. Hope the holiday's not bad, but see you all next time.